Pink by John Hughes takes place in a suburban neighborhood of Illinois in 1986. The stunning cast of Molly Ringwald, Andrew McCarthy, and John Cryer make for a classic tale of teenage romance. Andy, a working girl, falls for a wealthy guy, Blaine. They try to ignore their difference in social classes, but his friends make reality clear. He's rich and she's not. They can never work. Ducky, who is in love with Andy, is the hero of the movie, who continuously tries to prove his love to her in a twisted tale of friendship, hurt, and the hardships of love.
Interestingly, although this film setting was in a suburb of Chicago, much of the filming took place in California. Andy's house was actually a private residence in which the directors of the movie asked the owner for use of the house, and Trax, where Andy worked, is now a local bar in Santa Monica. Also, the high school the cast attends is the same school as seen in the popular movie Grease. New Wavers is the term used to describe guys in the 1980s who cared more about music than sports and money, which were the ideas that the Reagan era set forth to be most important. From our research, we've concluded that the general theme of this era was money and power, but with the New Wavers having opposite goals of not money and wealth, but self-expression, this gives us a different perspective of what the 80s was perceived to be and what it actually was, a time of individuality and ambient change.
In contrast to the wholesome family values instituted by the Reagan era, there was a small percentage of Americans with single-parent families. 2% of families contained one parent, single fathers. Although that's a small amount, it began progressing by the end of the 1980s. The movie portrayed the parenting style to be permissive, meaning they love their children, but they really don't care what they do. In the movie, the teenage high school students seemed to have wild and out-of-control parties, and where were their parents? Not at home. Scholars would say this style was detrimental to the well-being of the children, but the children didn't seem to mind and lived up the easy life.
The Reagan era was also a time of prosperity and happiness for some. While some Americans rose to the top, some stayed in the gutter, and as shown by Pretty in Pink, this is what separated people. In a society where money made you who you are, if you didn't have it, you were looked at as nothing and as an embarrassment to be seen with, as best shown in this scene.
How you doing?
Why haven't you called me?
Oh, I got nailed for the stable thing. I guess the groom stores is against club rules.
I called you 3 times and I left messages.
Yeah? Well, I didn't get on my family. They're very responsible about that stuff, you know?
I waited for you this morning.
Yeah? Where?
Parking lot. I saw you and I thought that you saw me. What about prom, Blaine?
Oh, Andy, I'm having a bad day. Can we talk later?
No. What about prom?
Come on, why don't we just meet after school?
No! What about prom?
Andy, come on.
Just say it.
What?
Just say it. I want to hear you say it.
Please, all right?
I want to hear you say it.
A month ago, I asked somebody else and I forgot.
You're a liar! You're a filthy, filthy, stupid liar! You have a guts to tell me the truth! Just say it!
I'm not lying.
Tell me!
What?
Tell me!
What do you want to hear?
Just tell me!
What?
You're ashamed to be seen with
No,
me!
I am
You're
not.
ashamed to go out with me! You're afraid! You're terrified that your goddamn rich friends want to prove!
On another note, the Reagan era was filled with tradition, traditional values, and a traditional way of life. Conformity was a very popular trait in the Reagan era, opposed to the non-conformity spin of the 1980s, where expressing yourself was key to finding who you are. However, the music of the 1980s was a new way for one to express themselves. The music was all about the lyrics, like in Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles, which stated that the new advances in technology, such as video, television, and more specifically MTV, the popularity of the radio was beginning to fade as music videos became more and more popular.
During the Reagan era, the country was in a time of change and growth. Education standards were low before him, and as more freshmen in college were entering a business major, it was time for a new education format. As said in Pretty in Pink, Andy was getting a top-notch education. So basically, the 80s being the Reagan era, the standard for learning was higher than it had been, and more people were willing and wanting to learn.
Rather than implant socialism, in his first act as president, Mr. Roosevelt enacted the Emergency Banking Act, and he refused to consider nationalization.
Did you get your clothes 5 and dime store?
Is there a problem, ladies?
In this scene, the rich girls are teasing Andy because of her poor clothes. By asking her if she bought them at the five and dime store, they are referring to the thrift store, implying that she doesn't have money. Money and power was what defined the 1980s. Fashion was a big way of expressing money. You could definitely tell your class by the way you dressed. Fashion was influenced by MTV, and as a result, teens started to dress like their favorite celebrities. If you got it, flaunt it was an expression that people lived by. Designer labels began to become more and more important also because it was another way to show that you had money, or in other cases, that you didn't.
As you can see, the 80s were a time of individuality and change. Some stayed with the mainstream conservatism, and some took the radical road. But no matter which path we took, everyone tried to understand others as best they could. If we could all just be like Ducky and try to move past our judgmental mindset, this world would be better, and we could all have a happy ending like Andy. So remember, America, live, love, and stay pink.